Hi, I'm Charlotte. This is Mama Tries to Read, and I'm trying to find a spot in the shed where there's no glare, where it's not pitch black like it was last time. And generally, I'm also just trying to find time to film or to read or do anything like that. So yeah, I saw a really good post on Instagram just today by, I can't remember the name of the account. If I find it, I will link it in the comments bit underneath. But she was saying how there's a lot of pressure when you actually start using, in her instance it was Instagram, and in my instance it's YouTube and a little bit of Instagram, to just constantly have content. And I see a lot of the time, especially with Instagram, that there's loads of pictures of just books without any review, just really nice setups, and I just can't even imagine how much time that takes, because sometimes I forget to Instagram about the fact that I've made a new video for YouTube, and that's pretty much the only reason I have an Instagram account for Tired Mama, is because I want to sort of showcase any new videos that are up in case someone hasn't subscribed. And I still don't manage to do that, and I certainly don't put up book reviews for everything I've read. So yeah, if you are feeling as well slightly overwhelmed just by being a viewer of the videos, then I can completely sympathise, and I'm sorry if sometimes I haven't always got something amazing to say. I have read some books in the last couple of weeks. I have read Text Me When You Get Home. I don't know which side to hold this on. Because I've set the camera up somewhere different, I don't really know. Text Me When You Get Home by Kayleen Schaefer, The Evolution and Triumph of Modern Female Friendship. I've really enjoyed this book. It covers pretty much the full gamut of friendship, really, between women. And she's coming from the perspective of somebody who is single in her, I believe, her late 30s, and has had kind of epiphanies over the years that have taken her to the point where she feels that friendship is the forgotten relationship, that everything in life strives towards love, you know, towards finding your true love, getting married, having children, etc., etc. And that if you don't fit that mold, there's a sense of having lost out on something. She is saying that she has seen the wonder of her female friendships, and if anything, this book made me really realise how much I need to put more effort into my female friendships, and just show the women in my life that I really appreciate them being there. So I definitely got that out of the book. On another level, she just explores loads of really interesting versions of friendship, how friendship can fade, how arguments, or so the loss of a friend through an argument, or the loss of a friend through death, can be one of the most traumatic incidents that you can go through, and how it's totally undervalued. So the example she gives in the book is of a best friend who's passed away, and interviewing the surviving friend, she says that, you know, her work didn't appreciate how much time she needed, her family didn't understand. You know, I can totally see how that would be, that there's an idea that friends sort of come and go, and they're not family, you know, and they're not your partner. So yeah, and there was also a really good bit in there which I think is really relevant to today, because I see a lot of my friends going through this, is the idea of, if you haven't found love, doing the things you want in life with a female friend as your kind of partner in crime, which is awesome. You know, they become the person that you go out for on days out on the weekend. They become the person that you maybe even move in with, that you maybe buy your first house with. They might even become the person that you adopt a child with. You know, this is the sort of place that she takes you on this particular part of the book. And what happens when that other person meets somebody and shatters this whole idea, because ultimately there is a connection to a partner that you don't have with a friend, and you don't, you know, you wouldn't pass up an opportunity with a partner for a friend, probably, is what she's saying, and how that can devastate, but also how it can be successful when it does work. So she covers everything, really. I really enjoyed it, and I'd like to hear more from her. I also read Heartstopper, Boy Meets Boy, by Alice Oseman. This is a graphic novel. Boy meets boy, boys become friends, boys fall in love, and it was lovely. It was such an escapist book. It just took me somewhere lovely. Their lives aren't simple by any means. They're two young boys falling in love, but Alice Oseman doesn't make it completely angst-ridden. You know, she doesn't play the same old tune of everything just being a nightmare because these two boys are gay. There is a lot of wonder and solace and just really beautiful friendship that blossoms between them. So stuff has happened, but it's left on a bit of a cliffhanger. So the next one's out in July. Typical that I'd read. I never read new books, and then when I do, it would be something that I'd need to get the next one now. I've also been buddy reading A Woman Looking at Men, Looking at Women by Siri Hustvedt. And actually at the minute, it's my buddy reads that I'm really enjoying, but are preventing me from reading another book on the side because they're both quite engrossing. And that's what's freaking me out, that I can't come on camera and talk about the new book I've read. You know, I have read these two, but, you know, it's taken me weeks. And this is, you know, an hour or two at tops, you know. So there's this weird thing, you know, reading in this community is all about being in the community, and buddy reads are one of the excellent sort of sidelines you can do when you're on BookTube. But unfortunately it means that unless you're all reading at the same pace, which I am massively slowing down the group because I'm taking so long with it, you're not going to get through this book in a few days. You're going to take maybe weeks. And so you're talking about the same book on camera. Like, I wonder how many people have stopped viewing this video because they're like, oh, she's on about that book again. Do you know what I mean? So I will say that myself and Sian and Britta are not happy with this book. We're not enjoying the snobbery that Siri Hustvedt seems to be accidentally revealing. And we're also finding it very skittish. It goes all over the place. We're also finding it massively in depth in places where if you don't know much about the subject, you're completely alienated. And then in other places, if you actually do know about the subject, she's not really saying anything new. So we kind of don't know what's going on, and we generally feel let down. I think I speak for all three of us when I say we feel let down by it. That might make you think, well, I'm definitely not going to read that then, and etc. But actually there is something to be said about reading a book that isn't great, especially when you're reading it with other people, because it's stimulating conversation. And boy, do we have a lot to say about what we're reading. So at the minute, we're in a section called The Delusions of Certainty, and she's discussing the difference between mind and body. And I mean, that's really interesting itself. So she begins with the question, what is the difference between, I think she says, what is the difference between your mind and your brain? And after this video, go away and have a little think about that, because that's quite interesting. It throws up lots of questions. You might think you know the answer, but it's really hard to articulate what you think the answer is. And she also talks about CBT and the fact that there's a sort of contradiction there, because CBT is, and by the way, I don't know a lot about CBT. I know a bit through my own anxiety, how it works, but if you're a CBT expert, and I'm saying this really badly, I'm sorry, but her argument is that CBT is saying that whatever you're going through is kind of all in the mind, so you can overcome that anxiety, depression, etc. But the trick to doing that is to retrain your thoughts. So on the one hand, your thoughts don't matter, they're not who you are, they're not you. And then on the other hand, you're using those same thoughts to fix it. So there's sort of a little bit of a contradiction there. That sort of stuff is really interesting. Don't know what on earth she's going to go on about for the next God knows how many pages, because it is dragging on a bit. The other thing that's exciting is that I got a new book. This is from my lovely friend Katie. She got me Tana French's The Witch Elm, and this is not the sort of thing I would normally read. It kind of looks thrillery. If I'd seen this on the shelf at Sainsbury's, I wouldn't even have picked it up. What do we hide inside ourselves, it says. Now this is, I don't know how this is going to work around it, but this is based on a true story where during the war, so I believe like 1940s, a group of schoolboys were climbing in a witch elm tree, and they're kind of shaped like this, very bunchy on top, and they found a human skull. And when it was looked into, they found that a woman had been deposited in this witch elm. I can't remember for how long, but I think for years, and nobody knew who she was, and nobody's ever found who she was. But in that small town, several times since, and it was within a couple of years of the original finding that the first bit of graffiti was found. Graffiti has been left saying who put Bella in the Witch Elm. So Bella is a name that we don't know where that comes from. There have been some kind of local historian-y type books about it, and I was just looking this up on Wikipedia. I can't remember for what reason, and I then found out that Tana French had done a book that obviously is from that inspiration, that story has inspired it, but I don't know how much she's actually, I don't think this is going to be like a historical retelling of what she thinks happened. Yeah, so nobody knows who Bella is, if she is called Bella, and nobody knows where the skeleton is actually, because it was lost. I think it's somewhere in Yorkshire it happened, I can't remember. If you know, please do tell me. And then we've got this old friend, so I'm super behind. I've had to ask Jo, who is my only remaining reading buddy on this, to give me a week off to catch up with the week before. We have been super speeding it. We were doing 7 chapters a week, I think, if you remember from the early days. And because we wanted to sort of try and get into it to make it more enjoyable, we skipped it to like 1 part, which can be anything from 13 chapters to 29 chapters. So we've definitely upped the ante. So 7 chapters was totally doable. You could do it in an hour and a half, but doing the parts is taking a lot longer. And like I say, reading these two together, I feel like I'm not progressing at all. I mean, I am progressing, like over a third of the way through this, and we're a third of the way through this, but I don't feel like I'm progressing in a way that I can talk interestingly to you, and yet it's taking up all of the reading time that in another week I would be able to read a whole book, and I don't mind that, but it's leaving me a little bit at a loss as to what to fill. So yeah, anyway, that was just a little catch up. I've deliberately done this on the hop. My hair is a mess. I've been gardening. I need to go back out and finish gardening whilst Idris is in school, so I'm going to leave it there. But yeah, let me know how your reading's going, and let me know as well if you're feeling pressure to keep reading. Are you having a slump, or are you just stuck on something that's driving you mad? Let me know in the comments and we can have a chit chat about it. Okay, thank you for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye.